Hello FlipNoise users, today we're going to be looking at comping. It's the technique where you record multiple takes and you create a composite track using different bits of all those multiple takes. But we're actually going to look a stage further and looking at using the comping techniques on audio that you've already got, or from sample libraries, or sourced from anywhere else, that you can actually create a comping track from all those multiple samples. So ultimately we'll be trying to get something like this. We've got a drum beat, so that's made up from these samples here. We've got a little bit of silence there. I'll show you what that means in a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different audio samples, and you can see where I've used different bits and silence to create a brand new electronic bass line, using different sections from different parts of bass lines. So it's probably best to start with the theory behind it. I guess I'll just do a short loop here and set up an audio track to record, and I guess I want audio input 1, and we will record a mono mic, and 1, 2, 2 got some signal here, so that's all good. And I'm just going to record, let me just set my preferences up to even my settings up to see what the pre-count is. I'll get 2 bar pre-count just to give myself more time. And we're going to record this. What I'll do, I'll just count over multiple takes, and you'll see the takes building up along the bottom. And if I count, when I start to do the comping, you'll hear the technique and what it does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so that should do. So what it's done, it's put these multiple takes. So I've got take 1 at the bottom there, take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5. And at the top is the comp track, the composite audio track, made up of whatever bits I select. So if I select 1 and I just stripe these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so you can hear the first take, 1, 2, 3, 4, then it looped back. And if I select a different one, so if I select that one in take 2, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 6, 3, 8, 1, 6, 3, 8, 1, 6, 3, 8, 1, 6, 11, 8, 1, 6, 11, 8, 1, 6, 11, 8, 1, 6, 11, 8, 76, 11, 8, 76, 11, 8, 76, 11, 8, 76, 11, 8, 76, 11, 8, 76, 11. Yeah, you get the general idea. So what it's doing, it's creating a take folder at the top made up of whatever I choose out of my different takes. So you could do things at random, and 19, 18, 11, 14. Okay, so yeah, that's the theory behind it. Let me delete that. But you can also, and the idea is obviously that if you repeat a chorus, you can get the best phrases from each one to make up the ultimate chorus. And it's used a lot. Obviously, used to be a razor blade, but now we can do it using Logic X comping technique. So I'm just going to delete all those and just show you what you can do using bass lines. Let me get rid of that track I did, and we'll just do a brand new one. One thing I do like to do to start with is just record a silencing, because obviously with a bass line you probably don't want a bass on all the while, so you probably want some silence within that riff. So I usually just create a new track of audio and just record some silence. It might be best if I just select, if I just record that silence in a little bit longer. I'll just record some silence in there. Okay, so I've got my silence all set up ready, and what we'll do now is look for some samples. Now you could play these in, obviously, play different riffs in using your favorite synthesizers, or if you've got a sample pack, or in this case just for the demo I'm just going to use some loops from the Apple library. It's a good idea to before you begin this, to choose a certain A minor, A flat, whatever key you're going to be in, whatever key and scale you want to choose. I'll just go choose D minor, and that means that any of these samples will then be put into Logic at D minor, and that saves a lot of messing about with pitching and getting everything sounding good. So we've got a silence in there. Obviously it's a good idea to rename these so you know what you're dealing with, and the track as well as the region. And then you can start to put some loops in. So I'm going to choose an instrument, a bass, and I'm going to just choose some. I'll start at the top, I guess. And you can also hit the key button here so that you can get everything that might be going together if you're not using your predetermined key and scale. So I'm going to choose some sounds. Okay, so I've got some sounds in. Notice the bottom one is only half the length. It might be worth, if you want, depending on the length of the phrase you want, it might be worth copying that across and choosing your glue tool and gluing those together just to make everything the same length. And then what I want to do is just make sure they're the same volume roughly, and this should start to sound a mess because you've got 6 or 7 bass lines played together, so that will sound pretty awful. But the volumes want to be set to like a reference, and don't forget a good starting point for your drums would be around about -10, just to give yourself some headroom. It's a good starting point when you start making tracks. I always start from silence and bring the bass lines up. It gives you more of a perspective on how loud you want it. And then you can bring the next one up. Okay, so that sounds really messy. But that's our starting point. We've got the volumes right, we've got everything in the same scale and key, and we've got a little bit of silence at the top. And this is where we start to look at putting these in a composite track. So you literally select all your audio. You can right click here and you can go to folder, and what it does, it puts everything in this pack take folder just here, And you've still got your audio here if you wanted to leave it and unpack it later, but let's just tidy it up so you can see what we've got. At the moment, I'm going to call this our comp track, bass track. You've got a little arrow there where you can show all the different takes within that pack take folder. And at the moment, you've got the silence playing, so we shouldn't just not hear any bass lines. And what you can do, you can use certain bits of that. So if we I'll just do this at random for now, and then we'll concentrate on getting a bass line going after that. So you can see that you can choose any bits here and it will start to play them. Okay, so you might want to choose, let's just get silence back up again, and start choosing which bits we want. So we might want something a bit more to start with, and let's turn that down a little bit as well. So and if it doesn't sound right, you can use another bit. And I quite like a little bit of silence there. Okay, so you get the idea. It's kind of a glitchy way of doing it. If you've not got a lot of creativity or inspiration, then it's probably a good way of using a technique to kind of push you in a direction and see if anything comes from that and you start feeling inspired. So what you can do then is, if you like what you've done, which I've literally rushed this for the demo, but if you like what you've done, you can then click on this folder here in the top, this middle one, and you can flatten and merge it, which basically means it's put all that into a bit of audio file. Okay, so that's the comping technique used when you pack to folder a load of samples, and also covered the theory behind the comping if you're doing a recording. Hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time.